starts right from creating the and strategy and identifying the right use cases to create a great user experience. So how do we go about this entire process is what Sarandeep Kaur is going to answer for us. This and of course much more. So Saran, the audience is all tuned in and the stage is yours.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is Sarandeep. Let me.
Saran, can I ask you to just drop the mic a little bit? The mouthpiece, just yeah.
Yes, good.
That's
Okay.
better. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, as already introduced, this is Sarandeep, and let's get started. Let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. All right. So, let's get started. As already introduced, conversational AI, everybody talks about voice bots, chat bots, and the whole conversational AI, and everybody is interested. But what is it and how do we go? First things first, I am Sarandeep. Everybody calls me Saran. I am a conversational AI manager at Novo Nordisk. Joined Novo Nordisk around 3 months back. But before that, I was in Accenture Management Consulting for 6 years, where I have worked with clients across healthcare, utilities, telecom, on the whole AI strategy in the journey, right from identifying the right use cases to the overall operations and maintenance, and have gone through this journey multiple times. So I'm just going to share my thoughts on how does the journey look like, and is it like a really one-time effort? As you know, why am I here today? Gartner says, and everybody else says that conversational AI is just going bullocks. It's just everywhere. By 2020, 70% of white-collar workers will interact with conversation platforms on a daily basis. And what does that mean for business? Which means, hey, wow, this sounds exciting. Let's build a chatbot or a voice bot or a multimodal bot. I've got the money. Let's just start, and we will deliver a significant ROI. Tell me how much you want, and by when can you deliver the results, and when can I break even? All right, thank you so much. But then comes the reality. When they actually start getting into the details and really look at the whole landscape, the landscape is there are large number of players in the market. The technology is diverse, and you don't know which technology to choose with. But before you even reach the technology place, you have to first figure out what are your use cases. What is it that I really want to do? Why do I even want to do it? So then the question comes, okay, it's not as easy. How do I get started? So the answer is that consider it as a journey and not a one-time effort. Think about it from a long-term perspective. And how does the journey look like? Well, this is how it looks like. You first undertake a detailed discovery. There is a lot of effort that goes in the design, and only then does your development effort comes in. And you have developed, you have tested, and you have deployed. Ta-da! Does that mean that users are going to adopt it? Everybody is going to be excited about my bot just like I am? That's not going to happen. Having worked on multiple clients, I have seen significant effort gone in the whole design, discovery, testing, and deployment, but no use, no adoption. And then we were again called in, hey, we created this bot, but people are not using it. How do we do, and what do we do? And okay, you have been able to get the adoption as well. Does it stop there? No, It doesn't. It's ongoing maintenance, ongoing effort where you operate, you maintain, you again discover, and you continue to go through. So the point is that it's not a one time effort that you just start and, you know, just end it, and you have a 2 year time frame, and you're just done. It's a continuous effort that you have to do. Let's briefly touch on which of these, what are the main things that will happen in each of these, journey steps, as we call them. And I have listed the main bullets, but honestly, each of them are a topic in itself. How do you really define your bot vision? You could have, what is it that you want to really achieve out of it? What is your end vision? And you could do a number of design thinking exercises, and you could actually do all the mind mapping, and use, from your perspective, you could do all of those exercises to figure out what is it that you want to do, what is the value proposition. You could do user research to figure out what are the key pain points that they have and solve for them. So a lot of things. Then comes your use case identification. Okay, I want to build a bot. These are the pain points I'm trying to solve. Uh, where do I start? What are the use cases I should start with? Uh, the idea is, or the recommendation is, you start with your uh, main use cases. So look at your data, do intent analytics, do text analytics, speech analytics to figure out what are your top use cases. Because what you will realize is that 80% of your conversations or the calls or the tickets will be driven by 20% of the use cases, which is the one that you can think about, you know, automating, because all of them will not be automatable. Uh, Now, all right, I have identified the use cases. Do I go live with them all along? No. Do an assessment and a prioritization. Figure out where they lie in terms of the business value and the complexity, and chart them out to figure out what is your business, what is your low hanging fruits and early wins, and then accordingly prioritize and create a roadmap. Obviously, you will have to look at security and compliance requirements. For example, pharma being a very, and right now I'm in pharma, so pharma being a very uh, very compliance heavy, regulated industry. You have to think about HIPAA compliance. You have to think about all the GRDP and all the different compliance requirements that you have to have. And basis that, you will figure out what are your vendors, how will you select them, because that is in itself a completely different exercise. uh, and that's when you kind of arrive at your business case and ROI, and you decide do all of those calculations to arrive at the business, your go no go and all of those things, and identify the KPIs to measure success. How will I really measure and measure the success, and how will I really know that this is working and this is not? So this is just the discovery part, um, and it is a very crucial step, because identifying the right use cases are crucial for the bot success. Um, all right, so you've done discovery, then you come to the design, and honestly, this takes the most amount of time, because this will actually determine how your bot experience really looks like. Uh, what is it that will really, uh, what is the kind of user experience I am providing to the bot? How am I really fulfilling the user requirements? Is all dependent on design. And don't take this lightly. This is like the most important part in the whole process. Obviously, everything is important, but this is super, super important. Have a bot persona, style, this for voice design. You think about the whole uh, the real user experience. Somebody's calling you on phone and the bot is responding. Will it really wait? Whether you have to have a bargain, no bargain, all of those logics. How will you handle failure? Um, Design and prototype and test with users, and then refine, and then refine. Only when you are sure of your designs is when you should start the development. And then doesn't mean that once you've developed, you will not make changes to the design. It's still an iterative process. I won't go in too much of detail in development. I'm not a very technical person, but you will do the whole environment, procurement, and setup. You'll look at the compliance, authentication requirements, the validation, the security validations, etc. You'll build the dialogues, do the NLP configuration. You will have all the data for training the NLP, and you will also build the API and do the system integrations to fulfill the intents that you want to do. Testing again is super super important, and I'm specifically talking about yes, you will do all the system testing, you will do all the functional testing, but what is also important is the whole acceptance testing and the crowdsourcing testing, because that's a gold mine for your NLP. The more users test, the more you will know how people are really asking those questions, and that actually helps makes your language model more robust. Um, and there are multiple ways of doing it. You can have free form, you could have goal based testing, you could have think along testing, and a lot of other ways. So, like I said, each of these points that I have is is a topic in itself. Uh, all right, we've tested, and like I said, how do I drive adoption? Uh, it's super important that you work with your marketing and PR team to drive adoption. Have a communication plan early on. And now, again, whether it's a use case for internal employees versus your end users or customers, uh, you'll still have to drive adoption. For employees, you'll have to train them. Because what happens is that unless people know that there's a and the discoverability is specifically for things like Alexa skills and all, discoverability is an issue. For calling on phone, it's less of a problem. uh, uh, but you still need to drive adoption. For example, in an enterprise case, uh, if I have a bot on Teams, how will somebody even know that there's a bot? So you have to think about how will I make a communication plan? How will I engage the employees early on? Highlight success stories, early wins. If it's and there are some very good examples in industry where they've, for example, Bank of America, when they launched it was not a voice bot, but it was their chat bot. When they launched, they did like a whole campaign around what did the bot can do, created videos. So make sure that you create all of that. Um, and you could also do things like gamification to encourage usage. Uh, and you provide trainings for the employees. For some of the bots, there's actually a training, because the technology, the way it is, and how well you define and decide, there's still a scope where you still can't rely 100% on the technology. So there's some amount of user behavior that needs to be changed. So though we say that voice is very natural, but having said all of that, train them to speak short sentences, not converse as if you're conversing in a shop purchasing something, right? So it's there's still a learning curve. uh, and then the operations and maintenance part. It is super important that you maintain the bot on an ongoing basis. Have a dedicated support, either within the team or externally, for operations and maintenance. Um, so what will that help? How will that help? So you will be able to identify intents that are not being, or utterances that are not being answered. uh, APIs could be down, so you will have to maintain that. You will have to share performance dashboards with key senior stakeholders who are really driving all of this. uh, and you will also realize that people are asking a lot of questions that you've not thought through or were not even in your roadmap, and you could really create that whole backlog of intents that you want to plan and create. So it is an ongoing process, and operations and maintenance is extremely important. um, so what are your key takeaways now? um, like I said, discover, spend time on discovery, focus on user experience design, and some of the things, like I said, speak human but don't claim to be one. Design for voice first. uh, do not set unrealistic expectations. Context is the king. Contextualize the experience. You have all the information about your employees, about your customers. Make sure that you use that information to really uh, make the experience good for them. Don't reduce the cognitive load on the user. Don't ask them information that you might already have, and design with smooth handovers in mind. And monitor the performance. Train the NLP with the right level of training. Don't plan for adoption, and improve and test. And that's how you really go through with this journey. So that was you know given the time, given where we are, I'm open for questions now. Any questions anybody has? We have 5 minutes in the session, last 5 minutes for question answers. So anything that you really want to ask. What kind of team is necessary to create an enterprise bot? Uh, so, uh, see, how do you really define and design the team is a lot dependent on what the budget is, and how big is the use case. In consulting, I have seen a team being there's a separate tech team, there's a separate consulting team, uh, there is a separate testing team, developing team. Uh, in in Novo Nordisk, for example, we're just trying to be very, very lean. We're still setting the initial strategy. So I am the person who's really setting up the strategy, the whole strategy piece. But, obviously you need designers, you need voice linguists who can really design the conversation. You need product manager, you need developers, you need testers. Depending on how big your use case is, do you need dedicated team for each of these, or you can, one person can play all of the roles, or multiple roles is something that you will that is dependent on a lot of other factors as well. uh, what will it take for India to start using voice assistants? um, okay, so Ipsy, your question on what will it take, uh, I think the main problem that we have is okay, as long as it is English, it is easier because, well, the technology is good, and the bots do understand. There is still a problem in understanding our uh, accent. There is still a problem in understanding the way we speak, but still that's still possible. You could try and then design the bot for all of that and train. But uh, but as soon as you go to the Indian languages, and I know there are a lot of companies, for example, Vernacular, Sathi, and all of that are doing a lot of research. But I think there's still some time left for us to really adopt those use cases in India, at least. But that there are things that are happening in the industry fast, and this is moving fast. Okay, do you so I have a question from Pranav. Do you recommend chatbot platforms to build? So Pranav, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on a lot of your requirements. The market is, and I suggest that looking at your backend systems and looking at your whole enterprise strategy, you do a vendor assessment properly to really see which is the best platform that suits your need. If you're looking at uh, voice only, or if you're looking at someone that can support voice as well as text and multi-board. So you'll have to really do a vendor assessment. Is a full-fledged exercise in itself. Okay, there's a question from Nayan. How will you handle new unseen intent in live production chatbot? So then there are a couple of ways, right? So there's something called a fallback intent, which generally says, "Sorry, I could not understand," which I will not recommend. But if there is a unseen intent, there are couple of ways to handle it. One could be that you provide the information that, hey, this is something that is still not, the bot is still not able to handle, uh, and provide a handover to a live agent if that's possible, or to a voice agent in case it's a voice bot, right? um, and if you don't have the live support, right, you could provide a alternate contact number to contact, um, but never say, sorry, I cannot answer and I cannot help you. Or you direct them back to the main conversation and say, hey, would you, I am unable to handle this at the moment, or I am not equipped to handle this at the moment. Do you want to, like, really but I can help you with these things. So you have to really define, and then if that is a frequent intent that's coming, then you have to really think about how do you really plan to build it in your journey and the next phases. Any more questions? No, I think we are on time. Uh, but if there are any more questions, I will be in the lounge for some more time. Feel free to chat. And thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Yes,
Tim.
thank you so much, Saran. We thank you for spending the last 20, 30 minutes with us and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. That is something we truly appreciate. We also want to congratulate you on recently becoming the CEO of the Women in Voice India
Thank you.
chapter. I think you got that very recently. So
Yeah,
it's a
thank
great
you.
initiative that you're doing, trying to promote women in the voice technology space. It's a new and exciting space that we've discovered in the last
Absolutely.
couple of days, and you are leading that charge over here in India, and not just leading it, but promoting gender diversity and gender equality as well. It's a very commendable effort that you are pursuing, and we want to congratulate you and wish you all
Thank
the
you
best
so
as well.
much. Thank you so much. Absolutely a pleasure. And I do hope that more women join this field, because, looking at the diversity even in the speakers was an eye opener. So yeah, I do hope that more women do join the field.
And we look forward to staying in touch with you, and look forward to the
Absolutely.
next event where we hope to have you once again as our guest and
Absolutely.
speaker.
Absolutely. I'll be delighted. Thank you so
Right?
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we will slip into a short networking break, and we will be back in 10 minutes. Our next presentation will be on how voice technology is changing customer experience. And we're going to hear from Kezad Hiramanek. All this and more in 10 minutes time. We'll see you at 5:50 p.m.